Pro Football Hall of Famer, top 100.
Tyler Lockett from the Seattle Seahawks.
DK Metcalf from
Nate Burleson. You're watching NorbCam.
NorbCam.
You're watching NorbCam.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is NorbCam coming at you with another episode of the Roundtable. We didn't get one last week because of the Thanksgiving holiday and everything, so I feel like it's been a while since we got to do this, but I'm excited to get it together here with the fellas and talk a little bit about what happened, that disastrous overtime game with the Raiders, but more importantly, what to look forward to as we face a down LA Rams team this Sunday. So we're going to jump into all that and maybe take some calls at the end of the show, which will run about an hour. So let's just get right into it. Vinnie, as usual, is on Vinnie time. He'll be right here any minute. But Juan is always on time. Juan, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Norb, great Thursday, beautiful day, and man, I'm just like I said, I'll feel a little bit better on Sunday if the Seahawks get a victory.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, it's been an interesting just this past week, with the holidays, and we had our first snow this past few days. Had some this morning, but it seemed like a lot of it's kind of cleared off. But the lingering, hard. Whenever you lose a game, especially in a heartbreaking way, I don't know about you, but I don't even like to read about anything about it. I know you read up on press conferences and listen to those things, and it's just hard. Like when you win, I love to just digest all the experts, talking about how great we are and how great a win it was and how great we played, and watch all the highlights and the wrap-up shows and all that. When we lose, man, especially that way, I have to put it aside and just go, man, I'm just going to move on to the next one because it hurts so bad. But what was your overall kind of assessment of that game on Sunday? What went wrong for the Seahawks?
I want to go back. I want to go back a couple of games. As you remember, in the New York Giants game, there were a couple of passes that a guy who never drops a football, Tyler Lockett, dropped, as you remember. And Pete Carroll went over to him on the bench and whispered in his ear, "You are the best wide receiver I've ever seen." And in the middle of the third quarter, Tyler Lockett ran a corner route, and Geno Smith put the ball right on him, and he made the catch for a touchdown. And it kind of broke through. And in this type of situation, I don't think there's any better coach to have than Pete Carroll, who I'm sure was upset for about 15 minutes on Sunday. But, they had their to tell the truth on Monday, their to tell the truth session in his week of themes. And, the thing that a good coach has right now is get these guys to believe themselves again. And that certainly was one of the things that I'm sure it came up. And Pete Carroll probably using all of his motivational talent, working to get guys on the defense and working to get these guys back together. Obviously, the defense had an incredibly tough time, and Pete Carroll took some of the blame for that. It looked like some of the safeties were out of the position at times because of the threat that Devontae Adams was a heck of a football player and has had some huge games against us. He put the safeties out of position, and that really impacted, at least to what Pete Carroll said, it impacted the run game. And that goes against the philosophy that Pete Carroll's always had of stopping the run first. So they did not do a good job. But once again, our defensive line not only was manhandled, they were pushed out of position. Our linebackers never really seemed to get there to their right fits. And certainly, Josh Jacobs broke a lot of tackles and ultimately, rushed and caught for over 300 yards. So back to the drawing board and back to the motivation and back to the things that Pete Carroll's good at. And I expect them to play a much better football game on Sunday.
Well, let's hope so. We've got Vinnie here. Vinnie, welcome back, man. I hope both of you had a great Thanksgiving holiday. I missed going. Maybe that was the thing. Maybe we were on a win streak after I think we started doing the show. Once we booted Mark out of the show, we pretty much won every game after that, and then we skip an episode and then we lose. I think we jinxed the team by not doing our show before the game. So I'm glad we're doing it today. But Vinnie, welcome back, man. How have you been? It's good to see you again, my friend.
Good to see you guys. Hope you both had a great Thanksgiving. I like today, and believe you me, we didn't call each other up and plan this, but we represent all three pro sports teams today here.
Hey, yes, sir.
Seahawks. How could you lose, man? I'm okay, man. I had turkey. I saw my family. I saw my nephew, who just made the varsity basketball team at his high school, play his first varsity game and get a bunch of minutes. And yeah, it was
awesome.
It was really good. It was a very cool trip.
That's great. Congratulations, man. Yeah, I think I saw something on your post on Facebook about that. That's awesome. Congratulations, man. And while we're talking about our kids, I was telling Juan off the air before the show started, but we're actually going to Maryland this weekend to a small little private college called McDaniel College, and Sophie had a lot of interest from the volleyball coach over there. She seems really, like she's really wanting to have her go there. And so we're leaving tomorrow to go check it out. But we did get the actual official acceptance package from them yesterday. Surprisingly, we didn't expect to get it yet. And it was a pretty nice little package, which with a little bit of financial incentive as well. So it makes the journey tomorrow all the more exciting to see what this school looks like and what the coach and the campus looks like. What's that?
Where in Maryland?
It's called McDaniel College in Maryland. I forget what the town is. Which city? Shoot, I forgot. I have to look it up. I forget where we're. But yeah, so I've never been to Maryland, less much of the East Coast, so it's going to be a new thing for all of us. So, but yeah, I'm excited, and it's the first one for Sophie. So hopefully more to come. She's sent out a whole bunch of applications, but that's the first one on the list. So we're looking forward to the trip.
Westminster, Maryland.
Westminster, thank you, man. Always the pros pro.
I just want to say congratulations to your daughter and congratulations to you on raising such a beautiful young woman. And how exciting is that as a parent? So congratulations.
It's new, man, because even for me, when I got accepted to the UW, I don't remember any kind of package, and it wasn't really even like I was just going there and that was it. So I didn't even have any other schools I was looking into, and it was very easy and cheap back then. So it really wasn't a big deal. But this is a new experience for my wife and our family. So it's the first, hopefully, of a few chances or offers to kind of decide where she wants to go, because she really wants to go to California. But we'll see what falls in place. But it's fun to get that first one, so it's a pretty exciting time for us.
We
I think she just likes the weather. It's just the weather thing,
The surf.
Yeah, exactly.
I
right, sunshine all the time.
And that's what I Seahawks are heading this weekend. So
when I got
everybody's going to California, the defense.
Yeah.
So when I got accepted to Western Oregon to play baseball, my mom and dad were so excited they kicked me out of the house, and they went ahead and had a rebuild to the house and all new appliances put in. It was great kicking me out. So it's a lot different world now.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's talk about this game. Juan, you talked a little bit about the coach, what happened afterwards. You're optimistic about them getting straightened things out. Vinnie, what was your impression? Shortly after watching that heartbreaking overtime loss, what was your overall just sort of feel like? Man, so many chances to win the game, but obviously a lot of things didn't go our way. What was your kind of main take on the game itself?
Well, the number one take is, it's easy to just say the defense screwed up, and yeah, I mean they did. They allowed more yards on the ground than a groundhog gets in 25 years. I mean, it got almost ridiculous. Then the final play, broke their back, and it's almost fitting that it happened that way because they had let it bleed so badly all throughout. It just didn't seem like anybody was on the same page. I mean, I don't know. I spent a few years watching Troy Polamalu at safety, and this guy never let anything get past him. and it just seemed that they couldn't stop the run. And every time that they went to pick them apart with a pass, they picked them apart like they wanted to, but they kept it short. They saw the weaknesses in the Seahawks, and they exploited it. And I can't believe that the Seahawks are as bad on defense as they were. And so, okay, so we have that. Then we also have, though, the fact that, and we always talk about Geno Smith as a franchise quarterback, but that was the situation right there. That's where he could have made a case for him being not a franchise quarterback, but a good, solid quarterback that can deliver you to the playoffs and beyond. And
Yeah.
I want to say he failed because he had a decent game, but it teams that get into the playoffs, teams that have some gumption in them, the quarterback marches them down the field. What do they have, 50 seconds left? I forget. Marches them down the field and makes a play and gets them into the promised land. No overtime, no nothing. Boom. And
and Geno, he had two chances. He had regulation with just under 2 minutes, and then this is where I really thought, with all the stuff that went wrong, all the bad ref calls, all the bad defense, all the missed opportunities in overtime, Raiders missed the field goal and give us the ball on our own 46-yard line. All you got to do is go about 20 yards, and we win the game with a Jason Myers field goal, who's been lights out all year. And how many yards do we net out of that little drive? We get 5 yards, and we have to punt it back, and then we know what happens after that.
If your quarterback can't take you 20 yards in an overtime period, that he's not. We already knew he wasn't a franchise quarterback. And listen, I don't want to lay the whole thing on Geno because I think Geno, again, played a decent game. But that's the crucial. That's where the Montanas. That's where the Roethlisbergers. That's where those type of quarterbacks, the franchise quarterbacks that you talk about, make that play, take them down. And I'm not putting Geno in that class. Even the Russell Wilsons pre-Denver.
Well, that was his thing, right? He made his living on scoring at the end of drives, at the end of halves, and all that. But I think it's unfair to throw. I think it's unfair to throw Geno under the bus completely because he had a good game. And if we pick up that blitzing end, or not blitzing, but the end on that third down play,
I was going to say.
Travis Homer's wide open. He gets the first down, probably gets us to field goal range, and that's not on Geno. So I can't throw it all on him, but God dang it. I was like, here it is. Geno, prove us that you can be that guy, and it just hasn't happened. Juan, I feel like you want to defend him. I think you want to defend him. I want to hear it.
There's a World Cup commercial going on right now, and it's got Joe Montana in a bar talking to some people, and this young guy who's probably in his late 20s says to Joe Montana, I heard you were a pretty good tennis player. So, the thing about being a hero, sometimes the stories last as long as as we remember them. But the most important thing for a quarterback to be successful is protection, and you hit on it. Geno in that last session when the last few possessions, Norb and Vinnie. Obviously, the running game was non-existent. I mean, there was no threat from Kenneth Walker whatsoever. And when the defense makes you one-dimensional, which we were, you're going to have edge rushers just tee off on the quarterback. And unfortunately, there was a receiver open, but he didn't even get enough time to hit his third step. So it's one thing to talk about the quarterback, but it's still a team game. And people have got to pick up those types of responsibilities. And certainly Charles Cross will do better in the future. And also the kid from Washington State will also do better.
Yeah, Abe Lucas. And on that play I'm talking about, that was Abe Lucas's guy. And I think NorbFam was supposed to chip the tight end as well. He kind of bumped him, but he didn't really slow him down. And then he was just a step ahead of Lucas the entire time. So he went basically unabated and got right to Geno before, like you said, before he even planted that foot to throw the football, unfortunately.
But you're absolutely right. The expectation is always going to be on the quarterback. The expectation is, and the winning and losing goes with it. That's a part of the position. But let's not forget this quarterback put up 34 points. without a running game.
It's hard. I agree. It's hard to throw. I'm not throwing him under the bus. I said that this was a place where he could have separated himself a bit and drove the. You always see it with those type of quarterbacks. And I am not saying Geno Smith is Joe Montana or Roethlisberger or Joe Name or any. Pick a great quarterback, but. But having situations, even though they're sending a guy, an extra guy from the outside, they're cheating up. They got a spy. Every term you can think of, they still figure out a way. They still have a way of saying, okay, I'm gonna get out of the pocket quicker. I'm gonna do this quicker. I'm gonna do that quicker. They see it, they recognize it, and they react to it. I don't know.
Vinny, also, I want to say that this is also a time. That drive that the Raiders went on at the end of the game is a time where Joe Green would have stepped up, and Howie Long would have stepped up, and Ray Lucas would have stepped up, and Deion Sanders would have stepped up, and Kenny Easley would have stepped up, and they wouldn't have scored that touchdown either. So I mean, it goes back to the fickle nature of the position of quarterback. But we had 11 defenders. Right, we had Troy Polamalu. We had 11 defenders that didn't stop the Raiders the entire day.
Well, and remember too that play, the drive in overtime where they missed, or the Raiders missed a field goal. Ryan Neal had been that safety, the strong safety the entire game, and he got injured on that particular drive. He was out of the game. And they had, I think it was Josh Jones was the replacement safety. He's the one who took that bad angle. Last line of defense, he took a horrible angle on him, and it was off to the races. Reminded me about Super Bowl. You remember Super Bowl 40? Second half, I can't remember who the running back was, but we were down because we had lost Ken Hamlin. We were down like a third string safety, and he just ran out. It was the exact same thing. Ran up the middle, bad angle.
Complete flicker to Santonio Holmes, and he goes.
No. Before that, it was a jailbreak run in the early second half. It was a jailbreak run, put them up by 2 scores, I think, and it was a similar play where we just had a bad angle. I can't remember how, the 70-yard run. It's very similar to this, but it felt like, man, I've seen this bad movie before. But Geno Smith's numbers. Listen to these numbers, man. 27 of 37, 328 yards, 2 touchdowns. 1 pick, but I think his passer rating was over 108. You would normally think that's a damn good performance, right? I mean, he's still performing. It's just the 2 knocks. The fumble on that handoff, boy, that really hurt early in the fourth quarter when he missed. There's that miscommunication and he dropped the ball in the handoff. They tried to keep it and it fell to the ground. They got the turnover. They were driving strong on that drive. That was a brutal turnover. And then, of course, not being able to finish either in the second half or in overtime. Otherwise, he's playing damn good still. It's hard to, that's why I don't blame him for it.
Yeah, it is hard to blame him, and I know that, and I'm not meaning this as an attack against Geno. I was sitting there jumping up and down, rooting for him to do it. Up off my, on my legs and boom, boom. Get out there and do it, man. Let's show everybody that listens to this show that we've been right. This guy is
right. Special. I know. I felt like it was just a missed. I felt like, whoa, Alexa, turn on the studio. Alexa's like, Norb, I don't like you. Turn your system off.
Jeff Bezos turned off your stuff over there.
And did we pay the power bill, honey? What happened? Luckily, it's still working.
Sounds like you got to pay that Amazon bill.
Yeah, something there.
I was just going to talk about the fickle nature of football. 2 plays that occurred that I thought were quite interesting. Number one was the play Josh Jacobs is running up the middle, and I can't remember the nose guard that came from Denver. Norb, what's his name? Shoot. Yes,
Shelby Harris. Shelby
Harris tackled him from behind. He grabbed him, and when he spun him to tackle him, he landed on his back, and his knee did not hit the ground, and the ball was stripped. And in the review, I thought, geez, we would get that ball because it was pretty clear to me that he had not been grounded yet. He had not been down by any surface of his body. But the referees made the decision that his forward progress was stopped.
Right.
And then in the overtime, Jacobs made a similar run, and he bounced off the linebacker. I believe it was Jordan Brooks, and his body didn't hit the ground, and he was tackled for about a 2-yard gain. He popped up off of Brooks and continued for about another 3.5, 4 yards. And once again, it was the same exact play. And how they were interpreted was completely different. So it's such a fickle game, and that was a huge point in the ball game. And I like Pete Carroll and other coaches. You don't want to blame officiating, but that's a call right there that really could have gone either way.
Well, and then there's the DK Metcalf catch, no catch that I thought in the stadium looked good, but we only saw one angle. We didn't get the multi-TV screen, review from all 5,000 angles. So it looked good from the one angle I saw. But that would have been huge too, because that was the the regulation play that would have kept that drive alive and would have given us a first down. And then it became third down, we got sacked again. So, again, Geno was doing everything he could, but sometimes it's not our fault. It's sometimes the refs affecting, the course of play. Unfortunately, a couple of calls went against us that could have really changed things too, but just comes down to those inches.
There's no doubt. I heard Wyman and Rabel talking about it. Rabel was apoplectic. Where he was just like, how could that be? How could that be? But sometimes, they looked at it long enough. What was it? What was that review? Was like 7 minutes or something?
That was long. Yeah, and the longer it went, the more you knew it was not going well for us, right?
Right.
It's like,
Exactly.
they're looking too long.
I'm probably the only.
Okay.
I'm probably the only Seahawks fan that probably thought that they got that one right. He didn't really have the ball secured, and when he rolled over, the ball was still loose. And if that had been a Raider receiver, that had been Devontae Adams, who by the way, made a spectacular one-handed catch. That play was so unbelievable, and the hands that man has. But when DK rolled over, unfortunately, the ball moved, and I thought that made it an incomplete pass. And it happened so quickly in the blink of an eye. I thought the official at least gave us the credit that the official came over, and she said that it was a catch. So at least the review would have, they had to prove that it wasn't a catch. But I thought that the video evidence showed that it wasn't.
On you, Juan. I don't want to hear about it.
Than I am, Juan. So I'll
I'll
defer
despite,
you, but.
Once again, the true measure of a coach, the true measure of a coaching staff, the true measure of a quarterback, and the true measure of a defensive football team is to see how they bounce back this weekend. And once again, right. I'm sure that they had a really interesting conversation on To Tell the Truth Monday. I'm sure that Clint Hurt and the defensive staff, Sean Desai, I'm sure that there was some interesting comments that went on in that meeting on Monday. I wish I could have been a fly on the wall. And I have every belief that Pete Carroll with his enthusiastic nature, and I'm sure we all know all the silly little comments that he was making all week long, but it'll be really interesting to see how they respond to this, and that'll really be a telltale sign for this season. I mean, I still think that the goal of playoffs is still in reach. It's now in their control. I still think that the opportunity to win 10 games. I think anytime you can win 10 games in a football season, I know a lot of fans at the beginning of the season were hoping that we would lose for the sake of a draft pick, but thank goodness Denver's taking care of that for us. But it'll be great to see that if we can get to 10 wins, and I still think that the opportunity is there.
Yeah, and a little side note here is if you want to experience what kind of being a fly on the wall is like, you got to check out, if you have HBO Max or HBO, watch the in-season Hard Knocks episode. It's about the Arizona Cardinals, and they're 4 episodes in, and it's about a week behind the current game that's happening, so they just did the one on the Chargers lost last week, and it is It is great TV, especially as a Seahawks fan because they're struggling so much. But you get to see real raw inside the locker room, inside the coaching rooms, on the sideline of what inside a team that's struggling and a division opponent. So go check it out. Go check out Hard Knocks on HBO.
Norb, can I ask you any question? Speaking of the Arizona Cardinals and what you just said about Geno Smith, who would you rather have quarterbacking and leading your franchise right now, Geno Smith or Kyler Murray?
I'm okay with Geno Smith. I mean, I just listen. If it was, but I would be okay. I am okay with Geno Smith. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not gonna just diffuse praise on him when I've watched quarterbacks over the year that lead their teams deep into the playoff, figure out a way to make those plays. And again, he figured out the way. I mean, again, you can put most of the blame of this on the defense, but still, there was a couple of critical points in the fourth quarter where you thought that Geno was gonna lead him down, and it was the opportunity. Even again, I listened to the radio broadcast, and even Rabel and Wyman was saying the same thing. Here goes Geno, here's the chance, yada yada, boom boom. And he couldn't do it. Again, whether it was his fault or the offense line fault, it's not. I'm not taking that away from him. And who would I rather have quarterback in the team? I don't know, man. I would look up and down. Maybe I don't know if I'd have Garoppolo over him, but I mean Geno's numbers are phenomenal. But I don't care if a guy's numbers are phenomenal. I care what the won and the loss numbers are.
That's the only stat that matters.
He has 900 yards a game. If his team is a 500 team, then he's not doing the job.
Well, and you bring up an important point, Vinny. And I think that Geno knows that as well. And I think that I talk to people, and friends and fans of the game, and they sit down and talk to me. Oh, this is a rebuilding year. There is no rebuilding year in the NFL. There are no rebuilding years. You got to win. The average career is 2.5 years. The roster is going to change over 25% simply from the way the statistics balance out. So these guys are trying to win every year. And Geno Smith understands this is an opportunity for him to get an opportunity to play here in Seattle or another place next year. And he also realizes that the Seahawks have some very, very high draft picks, and there's some very, very talented quarterbacks out there that, from a business perspective, that certainly's got to be on the back of his mind as well. So, in terms of questioning the effort or questioning ability, he knows what's at stake here every time he goes out there.
Yeah.
I want to quickly shout out a super chat from Addison Schiebel. Super chat, Addison. Unfortunately, she did have the flu, which there's been a lot of nasty flu going around. I know several people who have gotten sick, including my daughter, which is why we had to postpone our trip to Maryland tomorrow. But Addison, sorry to hear you had the flu. I'm glad you're getting over it. But everybody, I got my flu shot this year. I suggest, it's no guarantee. There's never a guarantee, but any little bit helps, and hopefully y'all stay safe this year. Because while COVID's a thing, the flu is still a thing too.
Rub a little something on it. Something on it. It'll feel better.
Yeah. So let's talk about the defense. Just because it was such a glaring statistical horrible thing that we had to watch. I mean, 500 plus yards in one game is not acceptable. It's hard to win any game when you give up that many yards in the NFL. 2 games back to back where we gave up a lot of rushing yards. So let me ask you guys, and as it ties into this Rams game, is this defense fixable? Are the issues we're seeing now, we thought we had fixed them in the beginning, is this like a 2-game anomaly, or is there something fundamentally wrong with the defense that's going to prevent us from being able to A, make the playoffs, 2, be able to have any success in the playoffs? So let's start with Juan, your take. Is this defense, can we fix the problems in time to salvage this opportunity to do something in the postseason this year?
I love how you referenced it. I love to watch the press conferences, and I did watch Pete Carroll's press conferences and heard his press conference or his radio show Monday morning, with Brock and Salk, and then watch a couple of the press conferences that he's had this week. I think that he took the defense out of structure. I think that they have been out coached, number one, and it's hard to say that because I know that he put so much time and preparation into every game. But I think that he changed the structure of their defense by trying to stop Davante Adams first rather than stop the run. And I think that Pete is probably kicking himself by doing that. I think there was a safety over the top of Adams. They pulled guys out of position to ensure that Davante Adams was going to be neutralized in the ball game. And Davante Adams still had a pretty decent ball game. But I feel it's more demoralizing. And I think this is throughout the history of football. It is more demoralizing to get run over. And we've seen this time after time. And certainly it was just demoralizing the way that we played. And I think that's the reason for some of the comments that we're seeing from some of the folks who are putting comments on there. And also just...
But Juan, let me ask you something. This is the second game in a row now that they game planned for a big receiver, and they basically sounded like they didn't prepare for the run, and they got beat by the run twice. Yeah, they did kind of stop, Davante Adams, but they let the run game go for 3 times as much as he, 4 times maybe as much as he did. So,
if you concentrate on the pass, you're going to leave some holes. I mean, if you focus in on on one receiver and I don't know, it looked like it looked for the second week in a row, whatever it is like a month that they were gone, but the second week in a row, it looked like they were disorganized, like they weren't on the same page at times. And where guys on the offense were running through gaps and having free reign on them. And we saw it, what was it, week 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, those weeks they looked good. I mean, we were praising how good they were and how they weren't letting people get through the gaps and how they were, coming off and going and helping other people out in the safety. But it just seemed to have all gone away. All the good that they did in that streak has all just gone away. Is it still in the compound somewhere? Can they find it and stick it back in their uniforms? That's going to be the question, isn't it?
Well, there's a gentleman. There's a gentleman in the chat named Chorizo Bandito, and he's a Rams fan, and he's confident that we will not have a trouble stopping the run on Sunday. I hope you're right, or else he's trying to use reverse psychology or a Jedi mind trick to try to fool us into thinking that. But so
I saw Chorizo's comment.
Josh Jacobs is a good running back. Record says so. Maybe they.
I just wanted to add one more thing.
What do you say, Juan?
I was going to say one more thing, and just real simple. That I think Alina Dahl said it. I hope Pete goes back to what they used to do 10 years ago. I can't imagine what the meetings must be like in his coaches' meetings, because you've got 3 defensive minds: Sean Desai, Pete Carroll, Clint Hurt, and I think sometimes they probably expand the playbook a little bit. I'm sure there's a lot of conversation. I'm sure that Shane Waldron isn't allowed in their meetings. And I'm sure that Pete, Clint, and Sean, and just from a coaching perspective, you start listening to this stuff in your own brain, and you start really expanding the playbook and figuring out how to take guys out of it. I agree with Miss Dahl there. I want to go back to Pete Carroll 10 years ago. Let's play our strong gaps. There it is, right there. Pete needs to learn from 10 years ago. Let's play our gap responsibilities. Let's plug holes. Let's fill right, and let's stop the run first. And I think if they go back to doing that, I think that's going to be a big way. I think they just have been pulling themselves off of their standard fundamentals of their defense that we've seen for so many years and that we saw earlier this year.
Yeah, it's hard to argue with that again. As we were saying, you have to do something about guys just running over you, and not and really just if it's not running over you, it's out of position. If it's not out of position, it's a guy getting loose in the backfield because the safety is 2 steps off, or or whatever it is. They got to figure it out and fix it quick if they want to go to the playoffs. I mean, if they don't
Well,
make it,
one thing obviously a lot of what our defense is kind of set, but we did pick up Jonathan Abrams this week. And from what I'm hearing, I don't know that much about him, but my buddy Rob, who actually went with me to the Raiders game, and he was very excited, obviously, how that all turned out. But he told me that Jonathan Abrams is a good pickup, and he could make a very quick, strong impact on the Seahawks defense. So that's nice to have. And it reminds me, too, that next year, I know everyone's kind of forgotten about Jamal Adams since we lost him in like the second quarter of that Broncos game. But he's a run stuffer. We will have him, as much as it's been a disappointment with him so far, next year, looking ahead, when we have Jamal Adams back, that's going to be like getting another guy back, a new player, since we didn't have him all year. So he's going to be huge on the run stuffing. So that's something we get to look forward to next year, that will be coming back, hopefully, to play an entire season.
No, he was injured earlier in the year, right?
Oh yeah, we lost him in like I said, in that Broncos game, trying to sack Russell Wilson. Ironically, that's when he got injured, and he was gone after that.
Norb, there's two reasons. There's two reasons why a first round pick like Jonathan Abrams doesn't work. Number one, it's the wrong scheme or the wrong fit for them, and they're not able to pick that up. And then obviously it's the second reason is because of the player's attitude. The money changes them, and they're not willing to put in the necessary work and necessary focus to make themselves better. They think it's college football and they get run over. And then it could be a combination of the two. And I think what happens is when a player gets released like this, when a player like Jonathan gets released like this, there's an internal meeting they have between their own ears. And I think that he realizes that now he's running out of chances to make it in the National Football League. So if he is a player who really wants to make it, and I think he was probably caught off guard. He was probably shocked by the fact that he, for the first time in his life, he struggled playing football, and now he's unemployed. Hopefully that's going to shock him into it. He's going to the best situation, I think, in the NFL with a phenomenal coach who's willing to give him multiple chances to succeed. I think it's an extremely good pickup to have Jonathan Abrams, and I'm expecting that he will be able to come in and really help shore up the backfield in our secondary.
Let's take a call. I got a call from, speaking of the East Coast, Westchester, Pennsylvania. I believe he's called before. Let's just, we'll take a call here too before we get to our score predictions to wrap up the show. So let's hear from Westchester, Pennsylvania. You are on the air. What's up, man? Who's this? Where are you calling from? Oh. Okay, so I guess he got a little gun shy. He's gone. All right, no problem there. If you do want to call in the show, the number's right there. You just call that number and enter the code on the screen if you want to chat. But Vinny, what do you think? Do you feel like what we have going on is fixable? Juan seems to think. I think you're saying you think that it is. What do you think, Vinny? Can we fix it?
Simplify it.
If I didn't see anything out of them all year, then I would say, well, it's a bad defense. It's a bad, they just don't have the horses to do it. And then you come back. But we saw it, I don't know, I forget exactly what games it was, but we saw the defense work. We saw people go out there and take care of business. We saw them, we saw Kobe Bryant. I mean, we saw people all over the place, right? Teams were, all of a sudden couldn't figure the Seahawks out what they were doing. They were beating the crap out of them. All of a sudden, that's gone away. They look tentative. They look confident. They look established. The defense does not look confident and not look established. I think the ability is there. I think the scheme is there. I think that probably they got to get their mind wrapped around forgetting what happened the last two games and going out there and saying, what did we do so well in that stretch, that 4 or 5 game stretch where the defense was better than average, where the defense could stop the run, where they were stuffing people. Now, they were never great at stopping the run, but they got a lot better. So I think it is fixable. I think that I think that Pete Carroll is going to sit there and figure this thing out. Because I think he figured it out once. Now he's got to figure it out again this season if he wants to get this team to the playoffs.
Agreed. All right, well, let's get some score predictions for this game. Vinny, let's start with you, then we'll go Juan, and then I'll give mine. So, Vinny, are you ready for a Seahawks-Rams score prediction?
Yeah,
let's hear it.
Yes, I am. Boy, I hate to do this.
Because you're scaring me, Vinny.
I hate to do this. But I'm going to go. You know what? I'm changing my mind. I got a feeling. I have a little right in my lumbago. I have a little feeling. I think they're going to get the defense together. I think it's going to be a close game. I think they're going to find a little bit of what they had before, enough to get them over the hump, and I'll pick them 31-21 Seahawks.
Okay. Well, you had me nervous. What? I'm out of curiosity. What were you gonna say when you were saying I hate to say this? What were you gonna say? You got your official pick on the record.
Every bone in my body was telling me to pick the Rams. Every bone in my body was telling me 31-21 Rams.
You're suffering from Rams PTSD of like the last 3-4 years of them kicking our butts. That's what that is.
Well,
but
it's funny, but how the Rams go, so go the Seahawks. I remember in you were talking about Super Bowl 40 before. I remember when Mike Holmgren, I was in St. Louis, and the team that the Seahawks back then could never get by were the St. Louis Rams. And I remember how confident Mike Holmgren was in the post-game press conference after they beat the Rams in St. Louis. And he virtually said to me, I mean, he would never say this out loud publicly, but he virtually said to me, if we can beat these guys, it gets us past an emotional crutch that we haven't been able to throw away. And I'm not saying that this is going to get them to the Super Bowl like it did in 2005, but I think that this is one of those teams that you're right. It always has a hex on the Seahawks. And if they can beat this team, it brings something to the table for them. It gives them an extra boost of confidence in here if they can beat the Rams.
No, I agree, considering they've had our number for a while now. It's been hard to beat them once, less twice.
From 2005 to maybe 2000, when it was 13, 14, 15, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And even in 14 and 15, Jeff Fisher, man, he had all those trick plays and fake punts and all that stuff, and just drove you crazy. But, all right, 31-21 is what Vinny says. Seahawks win it. Juan, how about you? What's your score prediction for this game?
I'm a little bit more optimistic than Vinny is, simply because of the fact that number 10 isn't going to be running around out there for the Los Angeles Rams, and I'm a big a fan as Cooper Kupps as anybody. I saw him play in high school, saw him play numerous times in over at Eastern Washington. He is one heck of a football player, obviously. I personally think, and I'm a big fan of guys from our state, I think he's the best wide receiver in football, and certainly when he plays us, I don't think he's ever said it, but it seems like it's a personal vendetta that he wants to show his home team. I think he was a Seahawks fan growing up, and he plays so well against us, and with him out of the lineup, Allen Robinson out of the lineup, and if I understand right, another guy who seems to really be a thorn in our side when we go down there, Aaron Donald, also may be out of the lineup, or at least I heard he's struggling with an injury to his foot. So, having said that, if those guys aren't playing, I'm going to go ahead and say Seattle Seahawks 28, the Rams 17.
All right, 28-17. All right, so I'm going to go and give my prediction, and I'm going to do something. Vinny and Juan, that I usually never do. I think if you notice, on almost every game I predict, I always say, it's going to be a close game. It's going to be a field goal. It's going to be one score. Screw that. Screw that. I think after this brutal game, we're going to bounce back. We're going to take advantage like a wounded deer in the woods. It's going to be like the wolf pouncing on it, smells the blood in the water, or not the water. What's a deer and a wolf doing in the water? Smells the blood in the snow, in the dirt, whatever. They come out here firing. Geno has another awesome 300-plus game with a couple of touchdowns, and then we run the ball. We establish the one. Walker has some big runs. I say we win this game going away against the LA Rams for the first time in a long time. Seahawks beat the Rams 31-10. 3 touchdown
31
deficit.
10.
31-10, and the defense gets right.
31
To heck with it, man. I ain't going to be scared. I'm not going to play I don't want to jinx it. Oh, it's going to be close. 1 score, field goal. I better just do that. I better not say anything like we're going to go blow them away. Screw it. We're going to kick their ass on Sunday. Doggone it. That is, I'm sticking with it.
10 points.
Take a dog
You're not an optimist, man. You're a soothsayer.
I was just saying, because right now it feels a lot of people are down. A lot of people are down on Geno. A lot of people are down on the defense. A lot of people think we lost the playoff chance, the division chance with that game last week. I say,
not lost.
hooey.
Hey, we're
gonna come back rejuvenated. Yeah,
we could be Denver Bronco fans.
There's always that, man. Just when you think your feeling is down on the dumps on your team, just remember, we're 500. We're above 500. You know, we got a winning record. We're in second place, and that first round pick is looking sweeter by the week. So it's we have a lot to be happy about. So why not go on big and let's just go show LA what the 2022 Seahawks look like.
Go kick some sand in their face. Take them out to Malibu and show them the waves.
Flex on them.
Yeah, that's right. D-Man W wants to know, Juan, are you related to Henry Cotto?
Henry Cotto and I are not related, but Henry Cotto is from my father's hometown of Caguas, Puerto Rico. Grew up there, played baseball, and obviously for the New York Yankees, the Chicago Cubs, and your Seattle Mariners. And when I go down to Arizona, I run into Henry and his family, and I hope to see him in February when I'm down there for the Waste Management Phoenix Open, which is the best PGA Tour stop on tour.
Nice. Now, how do you know for sure you're not related? Do you ever do that spit test and get your DNA analyzed? Maybe you'll find out that your dad and Henry somehow they had this, were interrelated. Maybe you're like the long lost, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh cousin or something like that.
I think it's obvious athletically. When I got a chance to meet him, I watched him in batting practice one day, and we were laughing together. And boy, as far as he get into baseball, I was like, man, I must have been left out of that family gene pool.
Hey, we can't all be MLB superstars, even though we think we can be. But
speaking about spitting, how about just a second of a little silence here for Gaylord Perry, man.
Yeah.
You won't see another one come down a track like him. I know it's baseball, it's a different sport, but won his 300th game in a Mariner uniform. As I wrote on my Facebook page today,
saw that post.
Flip his baseball card, I used to spit on it before I flipped it. That's how much, his personality of doctoring the ball had spread far and wide. And, a better dude you won't find. And I just think that tonight him and Niehaus are probably going to the Don and Charlie's in heaven. And, and having a couple of cocktails.
Is that why you're wearing that sweatshirt today, Vinny? Is that an honor of Gaylord Perry?
It is why I put it on. This is one of my favorite sweatshirts, but it is. I thought I'd tribute Gaylord today, man. He was, him and Necro, Phil Necro, were two guys that, along with Dave LaRoche, that threw a pitch that you just don't see people throw these days, and that is a spitball, a doctored ball, a knuckleball. Guys try to heave it up there at 100 miles an hour, 110 miles an hour, and they've completely forgotten the art of throwing one a little like this so that somebody can't hit it, of using the mind as well as the speed to give somebody different looks. I maybe you see it, but a changeup today is 90 miles an hour.
Exactly.
Right. Hey, what about Jamie Moyer? Jamie Moyer had 85-mile-an-hour fastball. That guy was, at least for the last few slow ball throwers that the Mariners had, he was really successful.
Norb and Vinnie.
And yeah, and he pitched what till he was like 103, right?
I just
Yeah.
keep it and everything you said ditto about Gaylord Perry, and one of my first memories is going to the game where he won his 300th game here in Seattle. But I want to talk about football for a second. The quarterback of the University of Washington is a special player. Michael Penix and the game he played last Saturday night, and I know we were just talking about quarterbacks here. Quarterbacks seem to come through in the clutch. Vinny, there's three quarterbacks I've seen on the West Coast since I've been watching Pac-10 and Pac-12 football. I should say four, maybe. Warren Moon, John Elway, Troy Aikman, and Michael Penix. Those are the four best quarterbacks I've ever seen over here on the West Coast, and certainly those four stack up against anybody. Michael Penix's release is unbelievable. The ball explodes out of his hands. He's got the ability to hit receivers. And in college football, remember, with the wider hash marks, he has to make some of those long throws and what we call that hole shot between the cornerback and the safety. He's done that numerous times this season. And he has had a spectacular year, and he played a spectacular football game. The kid, the quarterback in Washington State the other night, my hat's off to him. He's a fantastic football player and played a phenomenal football game, and is tough as a player, and the hits that he took on Saturday night. So my hat's off to the kid that's playing quarterback for Washington State as well. But Michael Penix is one of the best college quarterbacks I've ever seen, and I know there's conversations about whether he's coming back for his sixth collegiate year. But I have no doubt if he comes out in the NFL draft, he's going to be a very, very intriguing quarterback candidate. And certainly I can't see him lasting past the middle of the second round if he comes out.
Yeah, I agree with everything you're saying, Juan. He's special. You can see it. There's no doubt that he is. He's this year's Kenny Pickett to me in a lot of ways. He's this year's guy that's probably most ready to go or closest to being ready to go. I mean, if the Seahawks did fall where he was, you could see that they're saying, okay, well, maybe we get another year out of Geno and put this kid behind him and let him learn. I mean, that's a scenario that has a small possibility, but yet I like him. I everything you said about him, I agree with. I think his coaching was up this year with Kalen DeBoer coming in, and I just think the whole thing fell together for him, and he learned from it. And he became, as the season progressed, he was good when he started, but boy, look at how he has grown as a quarterback from game one. And they've had, the Huskies had some setbacks this year. Mm-hmm. But he has grown as a quarterback, and I don't know, man. I wish him all the success in the world, man. I always love to see guys stay for their sixth year if they can, but I think he's got a boatload of money waiting for him after this year.
Yeah.
Well, you know what I really like about him, at least playing at this, being able to see him at the collegiate level, he's got that clutch gene. When we're talking about that, can you make a play at the end of the half, or when your team needs you to bring him back? I mean, how many times has he brought him back when it looked like it was over? Against Oregon, man, he makes a throw just down the left sideline that nobody thought he could make to score to go ahead touchdown. I mean, he's made so many clutch throws, and he's got that win the game gene for sure. So it's pretty exciting to see what he's going to do when he gets to the pros.
Norb, hats off to I know you got some Cougar fans on here. Hats off to Jake Diekert and what they've been over to do over there in Pullman. Both coaches coming back from such tough situations with their prior coaching staffs, but they had a phenomenal year over there in Washington State and a big victory over Wisconsin. And once again, their defense, and you see the Cougars playing defense the way they do. That their quarterback is just a tough guy and had a really good year. And then obviously, all of our hats off to what happened on Montlake this year, and Kalen DeBoer, and the contract extension is definitely worth it. Just a remarkable job of building a culture over there in about 9 months, and getting all those players to buy in, and a tremendous 10-2 season for them.
When you consider how badly things were the final 2 weeks that Nick Rolovich was there, and the turmoil that team saw, and the I don't know. Maybe I'll suffer for saying this, but the cowardice that their coach showed them and everybody else by sticking his finger up to Pat Chun, who believed in him, the athletic director out there, Jack Thompson, who believed in him, all these Cougars who believed in this guy and thought he was going to be able to do something with this team, and he basically stuck it to everybody else. And then you bring Jake Dickert in. Not you bring him in; he's sitting there. You hand him the job, and not only does he get them back on a winning track, but he also keeps it together. I don't know if people realize what an insane situation that it would have been so easy for that team to fracture. Some guys, believe in one coach and they believe in what he's saying, and then you got the other coach. But like you said, he got him to buy into it. He recovered, and he came out this year. Listen. I'm proud of the Cougars, man. I am very proud of the Cougars, and even though they coug games, man. We said before, it's winning with the Cougars this past 18 months. I think it's almost been like keep your head down and survive.
Hey, it was and I'm saying this as a Husky fan, it was a very entertaining Apple Cup. And I think even when we didn't know who was going to win that, it was back and forth. It wasn't until that fourth quarter. And I don't know if you call that a game where they couged it, but obviously we had a stronger finish than they did. And it was weird because the final score didn't reflect the kind of game that it was because we won by double digits, but it didn't feel like that. It just all kind of piled on at the very end. But it was it was a good, entertaining game. It's always good whenever it's close. Blowouts are fun if you're the winning team, but they're boring. It's good to have a good game. So, yeah. Well, anything as we wrap the show up? Is there anything you guys want to mention as far as your shows that you guys got going? How about you, Vinny?
Yeah, I'm going to mention Drive Time Radio coming up on Saturday morning at 8:00, 11:50 KKNW. We talk cars. I want to put a plug in for a couple of things. Number one, at Pacific Raceways, this coming Saturday, I believe it is. I should have put this up here. They are going to have the hot rodders this time of year. All the guys with car clubs and everything get together this time of year, and they collect toys to distribute to different entities, different kids that need toys. And the folks down at Pacific Raceway have a event that they do every year. It's been a number of years that it's been going on, the Northwest Toy Run. And they will be down again at Pacific Raceways on Sunday at 10 a.m. It would be nice if you could go down there and bring a toy or something to, bring a toy and drop it off and make yourself feel good. It's, again, the Northwest Toy Run at Pacific Raceway, and it is on Sunday at 10 o'clock out in Kent.
Nice. All right. Oh, how about you, Juan? I know you have your radio show for football on Rainier Avenue Radio. Are you still doing that? I know the football season's pretty much wrapped up, but what do you got going on?
We certainly are. Mick Hoffman and I, WIAA Prime Time on your community radio station, our community radio station, RainierAvenueRadio.world. And we are talking about what goes on in high school sports, and certainly have big football championships coming up this weekend, and then making the transition into basketball, which is a huge sport here in the state of Washington. And Mick is talking about all the different things that go on in high school sports in the community. And obviously your daughter participated in that and is a student athlete. And we talk about all of the people and that help put on sports for our kids throughout this entire state. So it's a good show that's on there. And then I also want to mention, Norb and Vinny, that December 18th is Washington State Blood Donor Day, the day that's been designated by the Washington State Legislature and signed into law by Governor Inslee, that the activity of blood donation is recognized in the state of Washington and its importance to our patients throughout the state of Washington. And I encourage everyone to donate blood during the month of December. It's a time when blood donations go down as people are focused on the holidays, but your donation impacts someone by saving someone's life. So think about donating blood this month.
And as a person who has received donated blood, I can tell you what everything he just said is true. I had to have a transfusion about 6 years ago, and it saved my life. And that precious little juice you have in your baby slip the juice to somebody else. You can make more, and they need it a lot.
Thank you.
All right, that's great to know. And of course, this time of year, it's while you're in the giving mood, even if you don't have a lot to give, we all have blood that we could donate. So that's a great point, Vinny. And I want to finish, or Juan and Vinny, both you guys have causes that you could donate to, and I want to bring up my own as well. So I have here a autographed Largent jersey, and we are going to be raffling that off tomorrow. And if you want to be entered into the raffle, it's really easy. All you got to do is go to our charity fan page, fansforgood.com, and go to the donate page. And for every $5 donation you make, you'll be entered one ticket into the raffle. So if you do one $5 donation is one ticket, 10 is 2, 3 is 15, and so on and so forth. And we'll do the drawing tomorrow evening, courtesy of Terry Fletcher, of the president of the Kirkland Seahawkers. So yeah, she's a great woman, awesome woman. Her mom is great too. And so if you guys want to participate, that's all you got to do is go to the website, and we'll do the drawing to pick the winner. And no matter what, your money that is donated is going to go to our holiday grant program, which will be giving up to $250 grants to multiple families during the holidays. We do this every year. We've been doing it, Mark Collins and I, and our charity, Fans for Good. So all this goes to a good cause. So if you can find it in your heart to be able to do that, that would be great for us as well. So go check it out at fansforgood.com.
If I autograph it, would you raffle that off? Do you think it'd be worth $5 for somebody?
If you've got a jersey that you, well, if your autograph's on it, it might be a little bit different.
I just thought that would be a great business. Celebrity autographs, you know? Who's autographs?
Right.
Pac Wilson, got it. Babe Ruth, no problem. It ain't real.
Yeah, that might have a hard time with that one, Vin. But anyway, it's the time of the year to be giving, and think of those less fortunate. So that is it, you guys. So again, I'm NorbCam Roundtable. Special thanks to our guests, Juan, Cotto, and New York Vinnie. Thank you guys for jumping on here, and let's hope the Seahawks get it done and get a win against the hurting Rams right now. We got to take advantage of this while we can and get back on the winning track for the Seahawks.
Ram it up.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. Appreciate it. And for those who super chatted and everyone who chatted along, thanks a lot and have a great weekend. Talk to you guys all next week. See y'all later.
Go Seahawks.
Go Seahawks, baby.